Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Sia, can you lead us with the land acknowledgement, please?
The Ottawa Catholic School Board is located on the traditional and ceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory. On this spring day, we are grateful for the opportunity to gather and learn on this land and work towards reconciliation between all Indigenous people who call Turtle Island home.
Thank you. Father, can you lead us in prayer, please?
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Word made flesh, you have entered into the everyday parts of life. You were welcomed into the home of Martha and Mary, just as I wish to welcome you into my life. May I find you on every page of sacred scripture. May I see you in ancient prophecy and in vision of future glory. May I recognize your face in the story of the blind beggar. May I read of your mercy and compassion, and so come to know your forgiveness and love in my life. Amen. And our thoughts and prayers are with the families and friends of the 6 victims of the horrific shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville. And we also recommend to your prayers the following persons who have passed away: Brian Carroll, father of Lisa Cameron, principal, Safe, Inclusive, and Accepting Schools, Student Success, Intermediate, Secondary, and father-in-law of Brian Cameron, teacher at Sacred Heart High School. Peter Schleidhoff, husband of retired teacher Deborah Dorner, brother-in-law of Dr. John Dorner and Anna Dorner, retired, and uncle of Joel Dorner, educational assistant at Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Erin Bayan, sister of Christine Byrne, executive assistant in the Planning and Facilities Department, and sister-in-law of Ryan Byrne, vice principal at St. Joseph High School. Amanda Epp, daughter-in-law of Liz Longpre, teacher at Our Lady of Peace School. Peter Phelan, father of trustee Scott Phelan, and father-in-law of Christine Phelan, a teacher at St. Cecilia School. Peter Phelan was a trustee for the Ottawa Separate School Board from 1988 to 1994. Liam Mullen, uncle of Chair Mark Mullen and brother of former trustee Patrick Mullen. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen.
Okay, we're now going to go to O Canada. Please stand for O Canada. Saunders is now going to highlight the life of St. George.
And the school. So tonight we're featuring St. George, celebrated on April the 23rd, and the wonderful little school community that bears his name. St. Gregory was born into a noble Christian family in the late 3rd century in what is now modern-day Turkey. And as a soldier and officer in the Roman army, he refused to denounce his faith and persecute his fellow Christians. His heroic critique of the emperor would lead to his martyrdom in 303 AD. Often depicted in battle with the dragon, St. George is patron to soldiers and a powerful intercessor for those fighting dragons of their own. Inspired by St. George's epic encounter, the students and staff at St. George's Elementary School have created their own dragon meadow. The meadow is a deep learning space. It is home to a pollinator garden and a path highlighting the 7 grandfather teachings. It has also become an outdoor classroom, a place to pray, and a place to meet with elders. As Providence would have it, the first elder to visit was Annie St. George. We know that our learning environment can have a direct impact on the way our students engage and learn. The spaces we learn and work in shape our imagination and our practice of faith. That's why they have created their own mini chapel during Lent. It is a place for Christian meditation and silent prayer. Our values inspire the culture of our schools. That's why faith is at the heart of everything we do. And every liturgy is a classroom for community and prayer and a reminder of all that we value. We know that students need to create, connect, and apply what they know to real-world challenges, whether it is through making local connection with CHIO, or partnering with NIBI project to promote sustainable drinking water in indigenous communities. Students continue to apply their learning to real-world challenges. It started with learning how to build simple water filters and led to creating their own clean water Lenten campaign called Every Last Sip. Let us continue to pray for all our communities where learning is rooted in faith and concern for the world we share. St. George, pray for us.
Thank you, Father. I'd like to now welcome our delegation, Aaron Lattiser and Tracy Clark, the chairs of CSAW and PIC and SEAC. We don't have a long list of people to know. Thank you.
Sorry, I feel like I'm swallowing the microphone. I know, I feel like I'm swallowing it.
Whenever you're ready.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. My name is Aaron Lattiser, Catholic School Parents Association and Parent Involvement Committee Chair. And joining me this evening is Tracy Clark, Special Education Advisory Committee Chair. Thank you for the invitation to present to you this evening, representing the parent and guardian community to provide budget recommendations for the upcoming 2023-2024 school year. We would like to start off by saying that the board's ongoing commitment to our students, families, staff, and schools continues to be appreciated by our community. As we look towards the future, we would like to thank the board for its continued fiscally responsible approach to the budget. We at CSBA, PIC, and SEAC are proud to work with a school board known for its innovation. For instance, we all understand the importance of deep learning thanks to the groundbreaking work done by the educators at the OCSB. By taking the lead in education modernization, our school board has gained prestige, won awards, and most importantly, modernized the way our children learn. The community at the school board are leaders who care about student success and providing the highest possible quality of education. There are many factors in effective education. The classroom may be the hub of education, but it is only one part of the learning engagement. At its most effective, schools are a source of connection between the students, staff, parents, and the wider community. We may be government institutions, but we are also a place where memories are made, friendships blossom, and neighborhood communities are built. The OCSB has an opportunity to solidify these relationships and improve learning outcomes. We believe that these crucial connections could be stronger. Therefore, we propose that a paid role be created to foster these bonds. Many school boards have instituted family and community engagement resource roles and/or teams. Investment in parent and community resources is a valuable tool that we know to be beneficial. The time has come for the OCSB to develop a role at the school board level for community engagement and coordination, whether full-time or part-time. This engagement is not only about the parents. We see this role as a support for all families to be engaged, whether simply as a volunteer, participating on school council, or one of the school board parent groups, supporting principals with training and information, and generally bridging the gap between all departments. It has been acknowledged that the work done by volunteers at the OCSB is essential, whether it is grandparents volunteering their time to read in the classroom or parents sitting on administration committees. The school board is reliant on community support. As the chairs of parent committees, we log hundreds of hours in service of the OCSB community. For example, in the month of February alone, we scheduled 80 to 100 hours for meetings and events. That does not include the time spent responding to emails and drafting presentations. Every month, we are contacted by many parents, guardians, school councils, and principals looking for resources, support, and guidance, and every year, we work hard to ensure funding allocated by the province is spent accordingly. With many new principals and vice principals, we are seeing an increase in communication, looking for support and guidance, and on how to work with and grow their school councils, and the recovery of community bonds following the pandemic. This new role would also help shoulder the burden on existing administrators. The mental health of students, staff, and families plays an important role in education. Thank you for the continued mental health and well-being support and resources at the school board level and with individual students. Although we have moved on from the pandemic, parents and guardians remain concerned over their children's mental health struggles at school and in the home. Many children continue to struggle with peer interactions and social cues, and families also struggle with helping their children develop these skills at home when these interactions largely take place at school. Funding and support for student learning and resources in the classroom environment to assist children with this important skill development would go a long way to bettering the mental health of our students, as well as staff and families. Support and learning for students of all ages throughout the year on subjects such as bullying, relationship building, conflict resolution, and overall mental health and well-being strategies would make for a more functional and mentally healthy learning experience, building healthy school communities. Increased funding for programs such as arts, including language arts, visual arts, music, dance, and drama, experiential learning for all students, and independent living skills, including our children with exceptionalities. Driver shortages and cost increases have made experiential learning more difficult, causing disparity in some communities, often turning to school councils for support. Independent living skills provide opportunities and give students the acquired skills such as confidence, self-discipline, and healthy living that are transferable beyond the classroom, allowing students to lead independent and self-sufficient lives. Instilling independent living skills in schools supports mental well-being in children and youth now and in the future. In addition, many families have been stressing the concern over less availability of after-school partnerships, including those who offer services for students over the age of 12 that may require care due to exceptional needs. Developing and growing upon existing and new partnerships would assist and support families requiring these services.
Parents and guardians have continued to express their concerns regarding the learning delays that their children have experienced as a result of the pandemic, especially now that the tutoring funding from the Ministry of Education has come to an end. We encourage you to continue with the tutor support, including the Black student programming and support for French language learners. Parents and guardians would appreciate further development of French language materials and resources and make them accessible to all, including students with exceptional learning profiles. We are seeing an increase in the lack of confidence in students having the required skills to self-advocate. Having the ability to advocate for themselves at all stages is crucial. The addition of inclusive resources and education for all students will ensure the development of lifelong skills in the future. We have heard from parents and guardians of our gifted learners. Many are frustrated with the program because it's only one day a week and requires traveling to another school to participate. Parents and guardians are feeling conflicted and considering leaving our school board, exploring opportunities at other locally, provincially funded school boards and private schools. We believe it is important to invest in expanding the program for gifted learners to help keep these students in our school board and have the opportunity to be challenged more. We appreciate when the school board approves additional spending on psychological testing. These tests are important to understand how students learn when there are learning difficulties. The waiting list for in-house psychological educational assessments can be very long. Many families choose to look outside the school to have their child tested privately. However, many families cannot as they are financially unable to. Coming out of the pandemic, we worry that many students have not been properly identified and will continue to struggle. Without testing, students continue to fall behind and miss out on interventions that can be key to their future success. Every year, we ask you to consider investing in more educational assistance. We see the value that EAs play in our schools to help teachers assist with exceptional students. This year, we have been hearing of more students struggling and needing assistance. The last 2 years have been extremely challenging. We believe that due to the transition post-pandemic, extra support continues to be essential, especially for many students who were very isolated over the last several years and are waiting for testing. Our teachers work hard to educate our students during the pandemic and continue to educate and catch up on skills missed over the last 3 years. Having more EA support would be very beneficial for all, especially as we continue to adjust to post-pandemic life and catch up on learning and testing that might have been missed during the pandemic. For the same reasons, we also believe that adding additional occupational therapists, speech and language pathologists, physical therapists, and board-certified behavior analysis could assist with catching up and setting our students up for success. In February 2022, the Ontario Human Rights Commission released their findings from the Right to Read inquiry. We are happy that our school board took these recommendations seriously to ensure our students have access to Tier 1 supports, like Empower, to assist students who require this form of intervention. It is our recommendation that you continue to invest in these programs, continue to train existing and new teachers with universal evidence-based screening tools that enable them to screen our kinder to grade 12 students twice a year. As we learned through the inquiry, learning to read is not a privilege, but a human right. With these supports and interventions, we are offering a better future and opportunity to our students. Clear, concise, and consistent communication from classrooms and schools continue to be the utmost important and concern. We frequently hear of the delay of the lack of updates, information, and resources not filtering down to families through resource teams, guidance, and other specialized departments. We encourage the school board to continue the upgrades and modernization of our schools and facilities when considering the budget again this year. We continue to hear from parents and guardians about the challenges some schools that continue to have accessibility concerns, including accessibility wayfinding, such as Braille, accessible washrooms, upgrades, and accessible outdoor learning and play opportunities. These upgrades should be anticipated and not be set aside until there is a need. Parents and guardians continue to stress major concerns over school zone safety, along with public and school bus delays and cancellations. We understand that the shortage of crossing guards and drivers continue to be a struggle throughout the city and appreciate the continued work to recruit for these important positions by the Ottawa Safety Council and Ottawa Student Transportation Authority. We request additional funding and allocation for Presto Passes for high school students where possible. We appreciate the difficulties from year to year with the decisions that are required on where and how to spend funds, especially when constraints are being felt this year. Thank you again for the opportunity to share and for your consideration of key items of importance for our parents and guardians and their families. CSPA, PIC, and SEAC enjoy a strong partnership with the school board, and we appreciate the chance to speak to you this evening. Your ongoing support and guidance provided to our parent and guardian community makes it possible for us to fulfill our volunteer roles. Thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there any questions of clarification only? See you? Microphone?
First of all, great presentation. I just wanted to ask, so you were talking about like gifted kids and helping them be more challenged and like how they might be going to different school boards to receive like more challenging courses and things like that. So I was just researching, and we have like the International Baccalaureate program in like the public board, and there's also precedents that like in the Halton Catholic District School Board also has it. So maybe that could be something that we could look into too. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. I did err in not introducing Trustee Simpson, who's joining us by teleconference. Trustee Simpson, you have a question?
Yes. The community engagement staff was listed as your first priority. Could you expand on why you have that listed as your first priority?
Can you repeat your question or move in a little closer to your microphone, please?
Okay, sorry. I believe that, can you hear me now? I believe that the community engagement staff that you discussed came up as your first priority. Could you please expand on why you listed that as your first priority?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Well, we put it up front and center, not necessarily that it's our one and only priority. Our parent engagement and the mental health piece were our top two that we listed. But parent engagement, coming out of the pandemic, even more so than ever. And then with the increase of schools, every so many years, we get, anywhere from 2 to 4 schools that come and join our population. So more and more school councils, more and more volunteers, more and more parent engagement opportunities, not just parent engagement, but community engagement. And throughout the pandemic, another thing that we've also noticed is the large population of new principals, so new school administration. So just that support role is needed more and more. It's something that we've noticed over the last several months, coming out of the pandemic. And things have really changed for parent engagement since the pandemic. Many of our school councils are struggling with parent engagement, and although CSPA, PIC, and SEAC are I'd like to think that we're definitely leaders in engaging parents, and we have lots of great ideas and great support, but you know, there's only so much support that we can provide as parent volunteers, and we just feel strongly that it's an important role that, you know, for the betterment of the future of our school board and the future of really truly family and community engagement, not just parent and guardian.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other questions?
You can mention it. We'll share the slide deck. We've got it.
You going to share a slide?
We've received it already. We'll share it with all trustees.
Okay, so you heard all that? My right hand here is telling me that we received your slide deck and we'll share it with all the trustees.
I just noticed there is one little error, so I will fix that.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. Welcome anytime. Item D, public session. There is none. Item E, approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover, please? Okay, someone has to raise their hand. Trustee Phelan and Trustee Melito. That the agenda for the regular board meeting of March 28, 2023 be approved as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item F, school student department profile, a memo from the Associate Director of Education, Distinguished Catholic Alumni Award winner 2022. Mrs. Donnie.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's my great privilege this evening to introduce the winner of our prestigious Distinguished Catholic Education Award. And so I'll give you a little bit of a history of our winner, and then we have a video I'd like to share with you. So the Reverend Dr. Gilles Mongeau, S.J., was born in Montreal and raised in Ottawa, graduating from St. Pius X High School in 1982. Father Gilles received the Doctor of Theology from Regis College in Toronto in 2003, after completing research projects at Boston College and at the University of Freiburg in Switzerland. Father Gilles' doctoral research focused on the life and work of St. Thomas Aquinas, an Italian philosopher and theologian whose work became the official philosophy of the Church in 1917. After receiving his PhD, Father Gilles continued his research and teaching, taking on the role of Associate Professor of Systematic Theology at Regis College. He was also the Superior of the Jesuit community in Toronto, a residence for young Jesuits studying philosophy. In addition, he had the responsibilities for supervising the formation of ordained and lay ministers in the Church. Father Gilles has been a Jesuit for well over 30 years. He has worked in a variety of roles, including parish ministry, university chaplaincy, hospital chaplaincy, and retreat and spiritual direction ministries. Father Gilles is also a prolific author and has contributed papers to several journals. He has authored books on the work and philosophy of Thomas Aquinas. Father Gilles is one of Canada's leading experts in ressourcement theology, a movement for the renewal of the 20th century Catholic doctrine. He is a noted scholar of the writing of St. Augustine of Hippo. In 2018, Father Gilles was appointed Socius to the Provincial Superior of the Jesuits of Canada. The Socius is defined as the companion or associate to the Superior and is responsible for the smooth functioning of Jesuit communities and institutions across the country. While Father Gilles' many roles and publications are quite impressive, he truly lives his faith through his work with disenfranchised people, accompanying them on their life and faith journey. Father Gilles spent 10 years in ministry to people living with HIV and AIDS in Toronto. While living in Toronto, Father Gilles also worked closely with All Inclusive Ministries, or AIM, a program hosted by Our Lady of Lourdes Parish. In May 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic was beginning to take hold of the Jesuit infirmary in Pickering. As was the case in hospitals and long-term care homes across Canada, the infirmary required more support than was available. Father Gilles requested permission to leave Montreal and go to Pickering to help. Father Gilles, remember, second in command of the Jesuits of Canada, theology professor, noted scholar, and author, went to the infirmary and became a personal support work in a long-term care facility with his fellow Jesuits. In addition to his challenging work as Socius of the Jesuits of Canada, Father Gilles continues to write, lead retreats, and provide guidance to many organizations. The Reverend Dr. Gilles Mongeau is a noted scholar, a respected author, speaker, a university professor, and currently the Socius of the Jesuits of Canada, an esteemed leadership position. But what makes Father Gilles so special, apart from his many exceptional achievements, is his desire to accompany people on their journeys, however difficult these journeys may be. Father Gilles does this with endless compassion and wisdom. And so I would ask the Board of Trustees and our guests today to please join me in congratulating Father Gilles Mongeau as this year's winner of the OCSB Distinguished Catholic Alumni Award. So I think at the top of your screen, you can see Father Gilles, and I'm really glad that he can join us. He's waving, and I'll turn it over to him in a minute. We're really glad, Father Gilles, that you can join us, even virtually, but I am going to ask Alex to show a video that our communications department has put out on our winner for this year, and will be shared with our community tomorrow.
My name is Gilles Mongeau. I'm a Roman Catholic priest and a member of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. I went to Frank Ryan Senior Elementary and then graduated from St. Pius X High School in 1982. You know, my time at Pius X was incredibly important to kind of lay some foundations for the work that I do now and have done over the last 30 years. You know, we had a community life there, and the faculty, the staff really encouraged us to go out and engage with the world as a faith stance, as a community faith stance. I was in Jesuit formation 12 years, then did a doctorate in theology, taught theology at Regis College at the University of Toronto and in Paris as well. And then in 2018, became the Assistant Provincial Superior of the Jesuits of Canada. You know, the big part of what I do now as the Assistant to the Superior of the Jesuits is community building. There used to be two Jesuit provinces, we call them provinces, two Jesuit units in Canada, French Canada, English Canada. And since 2018, we are one, bilingual reality. And so there's a lot of simply community building, community formation work so that our various institutions, the actual Jesuits, really get a sense of becoming one, you know, and functioning as one body at the service of the gospel. That's a wonderful thing. I mean, that kind of facilitation work, animation work is something that I love to do. I think that also the fact that I'm still connected to formation with younger Jesuits gives me a lot of life. That's the big picture. But during that time, I was able to be a university chaplain, a parish priest, hospital chaplain. I worked with people living with HIV and AIDS. I was a pastoral minister for L'Arche in Toronto. I worked with Catholic school boards on welcoming LGBTQ+ students, particularly in the high school setting, and also worked accompanying parishes, accompanying LGBTQ+ Catholics in a parish setting. Particularly when we talk about welcoming people who are excluded, people who are marginalized, it can be really abstract. And the work that I've done, that I've had the real privilege to do over the years, has actually helped me meet people and get to know them and talk to them and enter into their lives. And having faces and names and stories that have been part of my life because I've engaged with them makes a huge difference to how I think of what I'm doing now. It gives it life and thickness and texture. Once you've had that experience, that encounter, you can't think about problems or struggles or challenges in the church or in society in the same way. You don't think about them from the center of things. You think about it from the margins. You know the double commandment to love. You know, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. So very, very often I think we think of, yeah, I love God and I love neighbor, and that "and" is kind of a connector, but it doesn't say much about the two pieces. You know, I mean, in some ways, you know, the struggles we have in the church now have to do with people who choose one over the other and put them in competition with each other. You know, no, it's all social justice work. It's love neighbor, and others, no, you've got to love God, and charity's nice, but and we end up with these divisions because people have that and for me, I can't tell you when it happened, but I remember realizing that for me, I love God in and through my love of the neighbor. I give flesh to my love of God. I incarnate my love of God in my love of neighbor by showing that love in deeds. And that's the most foundational thing.
So as Father Gilles knows, and most of you know, normally I would have the pleasure of presenting this in person in front of all of our 5,000 employees at Christian Community Day in October. And if you remember back to the fall, unfortunately, the numbers of COVID were still high in Ottawa. And so we did have to postpone that event. So Father Gilles, I'm going to try my best. I have had the privilege of meeting Father Gilles once in person, and I can tell you he's as genuine and as authentic as he is in his video. But I'm going to read what this beautiful word says, and I will present it to you virtually, and then I'll turn it over to you, and I'll promise that we'll get this to you physically in person as well. So this says, the Distinguished Catholic Alumni Award for 2022, presented to Father Gilles Mongeau, S.J., by the Ottawa Catholic School Board for achieving a high level of distinction and recognition in their field while exhibiting positive Catholic values. So if you'd please join me once again in congratulating Father Gilles. And now, Father Gilles, if you'd like to unmute, hopefully our technology is working. I'm happy to turn it over to you, and then we can answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I was saying earlier today to Mary how strange it is to like view my CV through somebody else's eyes. And I've just had that experience again, listening to your wonderful citation, your very generous comments. I am deeply, deeply grateful for the witness of many teachers that accompanied me through my time in school in Ottawa. At Frank Ryan, there was Sheila Burnett. And Sheila was the first one who really took my intellectual curiosity seriously. Later, of course, she was a wonderful example of walking with the excluded, as I try to do now. At Pius, Joe Mullally taught me English in grade 11 and really continued to encourage my intellectual pursuits. Father Bob Jenkins, who refused to dumb down religion class for us and really pushed us to develop an adult faith, and who was really also the first person to encourage a deep life of prayer in me. Father Eugene O'Reilly, who gave me my very first book of serious theology to read as penance for confession. Joyce Murray, Sister Joyce Murray, who's become a really close friend and a great example of ministry for justice and reconciliation. And Mr. Brian Sano, who really nurtured a love of liturgy and worship in me. The witness of these women and men and a whole bunch of others through my time at Pius and at Frank Ryan really changed and challenged me to develop an adult faith. They taught me to hold love of God and love of neighbor together tightly with a depth of understanding and real love shown in deeds. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that the context for Catholic education has changed enormously since 1982. But I think the personal witness of faith-filled teachers still stands as a key component of the success of a Catholic school at any level. And so I thank all of these teachers, the ones I mentioned and the ones that I didn't mention, with all my heart. And I thank you for this honor. Thanks.
Thank you, Father Gilles, and if you can stay with us a couple more minutes, I'll just turn it back to Mr. Chair. There may be a few questions for yourself or myself from the trustees.
Welcome, Father Mojo, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll now ask my fellow trustees here if they have any questions. And Trustee Lawrence.
Father Gilles, as a religious of the Sacred Heart, I want to congratulate you for your work. And true confessions here, as this was starting, I texted Debbie and Rob and said, watch the board meeting now. So I got to tell you, I'm on this committee. I was behind this 100% and lobbied hard. I kind of happened to do that. But I want to tell you the difference that this will make in people's lives that believe in inclusion and the work you've done and the work of working with those on the margins. So thank you very, very much. And it's certainly, many of us are in the, so believe in inclusion in the board, and this will give people a different definition of church too. So I thank you, congratulations, and all the best.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Seeing none, again, congratulations, Father Mojo, and well-deserved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got a mover for it. The motion, seconder, please. Seconder?
No, he can go more. Sure. Let's share it.
Moved by Trustee Lawrence, second by Trustee Phelan, that the memorandum from the Associate Director of Education dated March 21st, 2023, entitled Distinguished Catholic Alumni Award Winner 2022, I'm going to add to it, Father Gilles Mojo, be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item G, declarations of conflict of interest. There's none. Confirmation of the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 28, 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Moore and Trustee McEwen. That the minutes from the regular board meeting of February 28, 2023 be adopted as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There's no unfinished business from previous meetings. Trustee motions from the in-camera meeting. Trustee Simpson?
Do you have your two needs for tuition first?
Pardon me?
Is there another agenda item J?
Would you like me to? Sorry, I jumped. Trustee motions, sorry, it's moved by me, seconded by Trustee Simpson, that the Board of Trustees support the OCSB silent auction, which benefits the Toonies for Tuition Endowment Fund by making a contribution to the fundraiser in the amount of $50 per trustee for the years 2023 to 2027. Discussion. None? You have a mover and seconder? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, Trustee Simpson. Presentation.
Go ahead.
Presentation, consideration of committee reports, Committee of the Whole Board, March 28, 2023.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a recommendation that the memorandum from the Superintendent of Human Resources dated March 22nd, 2023, entitled Tentative Agreement QP Local 2357 be received, and that the tentative agreement with QP Local 2357 be ratified. And this was moved by, I just lost this. Moved by, sorry about that. Moved by Trustee McEwen and seconded by Trustee Melito.
Sorry, seconded by?
Trustee Melito.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 2, memo from the Superintendent of Special Education and Student Services, RECIAC minutes of December 21st, 2022 and January 18th, 2023. Superintendent Benton?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. These are for receipt.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Moore. Seconded by Trustee Phelan. That the memorandum from the Superintendent of Special Education and Student Services dated March 7, 2023, entitled Special Education Advisory Committee Minutes of December 21st, 2022 and January 18, 2023 be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 3, memo from Joanne McEwen, President of the Ottawa Student Transportation Authority. Read minutes of the regular meeting and annual general meeting of December 5th, 2022. Trustee McEwen?
Those are for receipt. And I'll move the motion.
You move them?
Thank you.
Seconder, please. Trustee Lawrence. That the memorandum from the trustee. Did I miss something?
No, I'm sorry. It took a while, so if we had moved on and I got left behind.
No, I just got to write it down. Sometimes my mouth goes faster than my pen. The memorandum from moved by Trustee McEwen, second by Trustee Lawrence, that the memorandum from trustee with Joanne McEwen dated March 23rd, 2023, entitled Austin Minutes of the Regular Session Meeting and Annual General Meeting of December 5th, 2022 be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item L1, presentation and consideration of staff trustee reports, memo from the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary, read Deep Learning Through the Arts. Welcome, Superintendent Montgomery and Ms. Fragioni. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair. As you know, deep learning is the framework we use for teaching and learning for the OCSB because it is learning that, as we say, will stick and be remembered. Anything involving the arts is always exciting and engaging for both staff and students alike, and it's an excellent entry point to show the impacts of when the deep learning framework is fully implemented. Anna Fragioni, who was the acting arts consultant when this initiative took place, is very proud, excited, and a bit nervous to be here with us tonight to share how this deep learning through the arts occurred at St. Philip. I would like to share that the video that Ms. Fragioni has put together here is also going to be highlighted at the Global Deep Learning Lab in Anaheim in April, at the principal meeting next week, and we showed it to a group of delegates from the Netherlands last week. We hope that you'll enjoy this video that you'll see in a few minutes. So I'm going to pass it along to you now, Anna.
Thank you, Superintendent Montgomery. Good evening, Mr. Chair. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to present to you our Deep Learning Through the Arts project, led by the grade 6 class at St. Philip's Elementary School. This Deep Learning Through the Arts model is an example of the impact and the importance that the arts has in creating equitable and inclusive outlets for our students to creatively explore their talents without boundaries. Deep learning through the arts offers educators endless opportunities to connect with their students and empowers them with a voice to communicate, to express, to develop, and also to heal. Next slide, please. I would like to invite you to view the short video of our Deep Learning Through the Arts project. You will quickly observe the strong focus on creativity and collaboration. Interwoven within are the global competency skills of communication, critical thinking, character, and citizenship.
Learning an art that look a drop of white in that makes it so different.
We were learning about the United Nations goals for sustainable development when our board consultant, Mrs. Fragioni, approached us to see if we wanted to work with a. We thought this was a great idea because not only was it an opportunity to learn more about art, but also creativity and make a difference in our community.
Going into this process, I felt super duper scared because I am a perfectionist and I really like things to be always the time perfect. But Katarina showed us that even if you make a mistake or paint splatters all over your canvas, the good thing with acrylics, because we were using acrylics, is that you can just let it dry and you can paint straight over it. And it was really inspiring for me, and I'm pretty sure for the rest of my class, just to see a professional artist work in front of us. And even if you made a mistake, she showed us that it was okay to make mistakes.
Through this project, we learned that creativity is not something some people are born with, but rather it's something we all have inside. It's a mindset that we can use to see new possibilities and solve problems in novel ways.
We worked with St. Pat's High School, Lydia from the Ottawa Art Gallery,
Katarina.
and Miss Frangioni.
Hi, what's your name?
Lila.
Hi. So what were you planning to do with your design? Like, did you want to do a postcard, a bookmark, a sticker?
A postcard would be really cool.
Yeah.
When our class was done with these paintings, we decided to do a gala auction night, and then all the money we raised from selling our paintings and for people donating their money, we decided to raise for our local food bank and to afford art classes for the youth in need.
It is such a special project that has so much beauty to it, not only from the artwork that the students created, but also from the impact that the funds raised are going to have on the local community. We are just honestly so inspired that the OCSB is encouraging learning in this really impactful way, not only on a skills development front, but also on a philanthropic and doing good, giving back to the local community in this way.
Through this project, my students grew in their understanding of art techniques. They were self-reported as increasing in confidence, self-regulation, and overall, they just love the idea of making a difference in their community. Name me another pedagogy that can do all these things. Deep learning was definitely a success and something that I will be using going forward because it's so inclusive and empowering to my students.
Next slide, please. Encapsulating the Ottawa Catholic School Board's spiritual theme of joy this year, the initial inspiration of the project was to find joy through the artistic creative process. This joy, fostered by the patient coaching of a local artist and established painter, was nurtured through the many partnerships adopted along its journey. Through the students' own initiative, it expanded through a philanthropic lens as a means to spread and share joy to others. Next slide, please. The finished pieces represented a unique and personal interpretation of each student's vision of joy and their gained technical experience working with a professional artist. Students also applied the fundamental concepts of the arts as specified in the Ontario Arts curriculum. Next slide, please. Through this process of discovering a faith-inspired learning journey, students were noted to have had improved interest in academic performance, self-esteem, perseverance, and appreciation of oneself. Next slide, please. Using cross-curricular pedagogical practices through activities involving the use of new technology software, mathematical operations to solve everyday life problems, literacy and writing, and the application of the creative and critical process in art. Students reported to be more likely to take future risks in their learning and explore new creative possibilities. Next slide, please. Learning partnerships are the anchor here for the deep learning, embracing professional artists, entrepreneurs in the field, educators, students across our board, and local community members. Students partook in an adventure of real-life learning, tangible experiences that wholly connected the students to their learning environment. Next slide, please. This would have a meaningful and memorable impact for all involved and would allow for students to apply their acquired skills as they prepared for future aspirations. High school students had the opportunity to put pedagogy into practice by engaging their skills in a leadership capacity while helping younger students attain their creative goals. Next slide, please. With a trip to the art gallery, students became part of the real-life experience, where they actualized their learnings and made new discoveries to future possibilities and careers in the arts. Additionally, students were able to see how their philanthropic efforts had a positive impact and inspired them to continue these efforts in future projects. With the skills acquired when embracing the arts through a deep learning model, we are providing our students a global understanding of culture and their own cultural contributions. The knowledge they gain from learning to create, collaborate, and appreciate visual aesthetics, they can then apply toward a better understanding of the world and how they are also interconnected within it. The Deep Learning Through the Arts project offers that out-of-the-box creative thinking approach that all of our students can use to express themselves. It is a means to connect and communicate with those around us. It is a tool of empowerment with the simple yet powerful life lesson that we all have our own canvas to create with, and when making a mistake, simply paint over it and start over again. We are then one step closer in developing the whole child toward greater success in post-secondary life and beyond. As is witnessed by the grade 6 students from St. Philip's Elementary School, arts education provides a naturally beautiful vessel for the deep learning approach to learning. Thank you kindly, Mr. Chair, for providing your time in sharing this learning initiative. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Questions or comments? Trustee Lawrence.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. It's not a question, it's a comment, but further to this morning, when I said to you about the deep learning through arts and the mental health that went into this, paint over it, I watched it again, and there are so many directions to go with this, so I hope that continues, and I wish you all the best in that. Thank you very much. This was brilliant.
Any other questions? Trustee Moore?
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Frangione, just a quick question. Have you any idea if the students have continued to paint?
That's a good question.
Through you, Mr. Chair. That's an excellent question. I am still in contact with the classroom teacher who I did the initiative with, and they're certainly exploring other options. They've talked about different forms of exploring art, so sculptural, tangible, other forms of art. I know that one of the students who was one of the more meek students reluctant to begin the project of their skills has gone home with a new sense of exploration, and their parents have actually purchased paint kits and whatnot from them to do at home. She was actually one of the students that we were tracking along the project. So yes, I know of that one at least.
Trustee Phelan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, maybe just a comment, if that's okay, to make. At the beginning, you said you seemed a little nervous, but you did a great job. You did an awesome job for sure. So, congratulations. And I had the good fortune to meet you, I think, back a few months ago at St. Philip's for that evening of art, and it was a beautiful evening, well attended, and just a great job. So, just a comment. That's all.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Trustee Phelan. Actually, it was very nice to see you and your daughter at our event that evening.
We're not such a tough crowd. Trustee McEwen.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering how the partnership between St. Pat's High and St. Philip's came about.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So initially, when we had the Ottawa Art Gallery representative entrepreneur come to work with the students, they had expressed their interest in how to market and advertise their painting campaign. And the idea of having the St. Patrick's High School students work with the students was, we have a very brilliant media teacher at that school. And the idea was to bring in those students to help them produce their media campaign. So the idea of setting up stations, and they had the videography station, the interview station, the photography station, and they were allowed that opportunity to create their, co-facilitate the media campaign with the students.
Trustee Simpson, do you have any questions?
Just a comment. I think it was wonderful, and I'm really excited that we have an association with the Ottawa Art Gallery, which is an often overlooked gallery. So congratulations on a great project.
Would you like to move the motion?
Most certainly.
Trustee McEwen, would you like to second it? Moved by Trustee Simpson, seconded by Trustee McEwen, that the memorandum from the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary dated March 22nd, 2023, entitled Deep Learning Through the Arts be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much for your presentation. Item L2, memo from the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary, the naming of the new Fernbank Elementary School. Welcome, Superintendent Montgomery.
Thank you. And thank you for all the nice comments for Anna. I'm so excited to be here tonight and to be part of the process of when a new school is named. Principal White did most of the heavy lifting in this process. She sends her sincere regrets tonight for not being here since she is at a conference that is out of town, but she sent me a message that she is anxiously awaiting the results. As per board policy for the naming of a new school, a wonderful committee was established with representatives from the board, Trustee Phelan, and Father Peter Saunders was part of that, school board staff, which included Father Gerard, a student representative, and the parent community. A special thank you to Kristen Kelly, Rushni Jose, and Megan Gelianis, which were the parents that represented the parent committee, part of this committee. And an extra special thank you to Father Gerard, who summarized the profiles for us to consider. As a committee, we selected these names for the families to vote on: St. Bernadette, St. Juan Diego, St. Ignatius of Loyola, and Blessed Chiara Bandano. Principal White sent out the survey to the families who will be attending the school next year. As you saw in the memo, the breakdown of the 214 votes received were as followed: St. Bernadette, 112 votes, St. Juan Diego, 40 votes, St. Ignatius of Loyola, 34 votes, and Blessed Chiara Bandano, 28 votes. Considering the projection is about 400 students for the new school, we were really happy with the percentage of families who actually voted. Taking into consideration our strategic commitments, our equity framework, the thoughts of the committee as a whole, and the results of this vote, the committee would like the trustees to please consider St. Bernadette for the name of the school. A little bit about St. Bernadette. St. Bernadette has a feast day that is coming up on April 16th. She is the patron saint of those with illness, people ridiculed for their faith, poverty, shepherds and shepherdesses. Her birthday is January 7th, 1844. She passed away on April 16th, 1879, and she was canonized by Pope Pius X on in December 1933. On February 11th, 1858, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared to Bernadette in a cave above the banks of the Gave River near Lourdes. There were 18 appearances in all, the final one occurring on the feast of the Our Lady of Mount Carmel, July 16th. Lourdes is one of the most popular Marian shrines in the world, attracting millions of visitors. Miracles were reported and verified at the shrine and in the waters of the spring. Bernadette was born in 1844, the first child of an extremely poor miller in the town of Lourdes in southern France. At 14 years old, Bernadette was known as a virtuous girl, though a poor student who had not even made her first Holy Communion. In poor health, she had suffered from asthma from an early age, and though she did become a Sister of Notre Dame, she did die at the young age of 35. St. Bernadette's story is one of courage and faith to tell the story about what she was witnessing against all odds. It is a story of poverty and illness, and most of all, a story of resilience, perseverance, and hope. Our OCSB students will be able to have many rich discussions while learning about St. Bernadette and be proud that this strong female saint is representing their school community. At this point, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank the trustees for considering the top choice of the committee, and I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Trustee Moore.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the committee for not picking a name too close to any of the other schools around it. Being the trustee for St. Michael Corkery, St. Michael Fitzroy, St. Isabel, and St. Isidore. I'm very thankful that you did not pick a name too close to any of the other schools around it.
I'm assuming you're moving this motion?
I would be glad to. Although, shouldn't Trustee Phelan?
Let's move it. Sounds good. I'll be.
You'll move it?
Yes, please.
I'll second it.
Any other questions, comments? Trustee Phelan?
No, the only comment I would make, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the only comment I would make is what a neat experience to be part of, and to, you know, to have some really neat foundational representation on that call, or few calls, where you had, you know, people that will attend the school, of course, representation from the board and trustees and whatnot. So I think it was just really neat to be part of that, and obviously to learn more about some of these saints that are out there, obviously, that might have a tie to an individual, a community, the school board itself. So I think it was just more of a comment, just say it was just really a wonderful experience to be part of. Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments? Seeing.
Which school? Which name? St. Bernadette?
No, the recommendation was St. Bernadette. And you spoke to it. Moved by Trustee Phelan, seconded by Trustee Moore, that the memorandum from the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary dated March 22nd, 2023, naming of the new Fernbank Elementary School be received, and the name of the new Fernbank Elementary School be St. Bernadette be approved. That doesn't make, that's bad English. The new Fernbank Elementary School be named St. Bernadette and be approved. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item L3, memo from the Superintendent of Learning Technologies, read the naming of a new Barhaven South Elementary School. Welcome, Superintendent Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm pleased to present to you the Barhaven South Elementary School Committee new name recommendation. I'd like to recognize the leadership of Principal Shelley Leonet for her hard work and organization, and we are both available for questions following this summary. I'd also like to thank Lisa Hurd at St. Benedict and Principal Jody Prevost at St. Cecilia for helping to facilitate our process. As per policy, we created a committee made up of community members, board personnel, students, parents, and Trustee Warren. Both St. Benedict and St. Cecilia families and students who will be in the new catchment were asked to create a comprehensive list of suggestions. The list was eventually shortened to 3, which were then voted on by the greater community. The result was a recommendation we bring to you to consider St. Juan Diego. The St. Juan Diego story is a beautiful one. It is actually the story of evangelization in Latin America. The encapsulated story is that Juan, a simple peasant, was visited by the Virgin Mary and was challenged to build a church on Tepeyac Hill. At first he was not believed, and proof was requested. In a second encounter with Mary, she asked him to place many flowers in his tilma, or cloak, and bring them to the bishop. When he dropped the flowers, an image of the Virgin Mary was imprinted on the cloak. The church was built, and homage and evangelization began in earnest. Perhaps even more importantly, the story recognizes that one need not have title or wealth to influence evangelization, and also that one need not give up culture to embrace Christ. Christianity accepts and embraces and seeks the individuality of culture, which is why the spread of Christianity in Latin America has been so powerful. Juan was a bridge between Aztec and Christian, an excellent metaphor for a modern Catholicism. The story is at once beautiful and it recognizes the growth and diversity of Barrhaven. For these reasons, the committee hopes that the Board of Trustees would consider St. Juan Diego as the school's new name. Through you, Mr. Chair, and for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Trustee Lawrence?
No, I'm just
Aye.
waiting here, just bated breath.
Trustee Moore?
Thank you. It's the same questions I had before. Are there a lot of names close to St. Juan near it?
We have a lot of St. John's, but we don't have a lot of St. Juan's, I don't think.
Okay, well, that makes it a lot easier for people. And it's a lovely choice.
Any other questions? Cindy. Trustee Simpson? No microphone.
All right, I have no problem with the name at all. It's lovely. My only concern is what is the population of students that will be attending this school? Because the representation is rather low. And I have a concern that there's only 7 votes difference between the first and the second name with such a small number of the community represented. And I'm wondering if there was any chance that perhaps we would go back to the community, considering that this is a large area. I think it's a fairly large population. I'm not saying that we would come up with a different name. I would just maybe feel a little more comfortable that more parents were represented in the community. Can you comment on that?
I do, through you, Mr. Chair. It is an excellent question, and I did look at the numbers. Originally, the school was slated to open with about 507 students, but as the board remembers, we decided to only open for K-5 next year to allow the grade 6s to transition because we have a January opening. So in reality, there'll be closer to 400 students attending the school, and of those 400, there's not 400 families. It's probably closer to about 325. So to get 100 votes out of 325 is approximately a third. And in talking with the researchers, they indicated most times when you do a survey, if you get 20%, that's a good representative sample, and we're into the 30s. So I do feel confident about this number, and to bring it back to the community, we may get a difference of plus or minus, and there may be some who don't vote because they felt like they already did. So my recommendation is that we keep the numbers as seen.
Okay, thank you. That's fair.
No, it's just a comment that it's a patron saint of Indigenous peoples. And I think that makes a statement not only for the school, but it makes for the community as well. So that's why I'm very happy with Jean Diego. Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, he's patron saint of Indigenous people, and we have to recognize that as well. And to name his school after an Indigenous person, you know, is very good. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Moved by Trustee Lawrence. It's already written down. Can I have a seconder, please? Trustee Melito. That the memorandum from the Superintendent of Learning Technologies dated March 20th, 2023, the naming of the new Barrhaven South Elementary School be received, and that the name of the new Barrhaven South Elementary School be St. Juan Diego, and it be approved. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That was unanimous, by the way. Item M, new business. There's none. There's no notice of motions. Confirmation of the action report. Can I get a mover, please? Trustee McEwen. And seconder, Trustee Melito. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Inquiries? There's none. Administrative announcements, Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have several. I don't get the opportunity to ask questions when there's delegations, so I'll take this opportunity during the admin announcements. Just to congratulate and to recognize and thank Tracy Clark and Aaron Lattiser, our leads for both CSPA, PIC, and SEAC, for the many contributions. They represent our board on provincial committees as well, and they're certainly great ambassadors for the board. So I wanted to thank them as well for their presentation and input and for all the work that they do. Follow-up to the distinguished alumni presentation, I wanted to mention that with the award comes a $5,000 donation to school of the choice of the recipient. And Father Mongeau has selected St. Pius X, so tomorrow when the video is shared, they'll also be notified that they're receiving $5,000 on his behalf. I wanted to mention that this past weekend, one of our staff, Emily Roy, was recognized with the Ontario Modern Language Teacher Association Award. It's called the Robert McConnell Award for 2023, and it's in recognition of her contribution to the development of French second language teaching resources, both in Ontario, Canada, and internationally. And she was honored this past weekend in Toronto with a ceremony, so we're very proud of the work of Emily and all of our FSL staff throughout the board. And finally, I want to mention that Dr. Michael Fullen, who you have heard many times at this board table, renowned educator and research, he's just released, I think, his 86th book. I'm not sure what his numbers are actually up to, but something around there. It's The Principal 2.0 is the book. And in it, there's several pages that talk about a principal profile. J.P. Kluche, the principal of Notre Dame, he talks about the learning partnerships and what they're doing at that particular school. And there's also a profile of our board and the great work that's happening both in deep learning, but as well in the different practices. And I'll just read the last lines from one of his summaries about our board, and it's regarding the role of principals. For the OCSB, the role of the principal is no longer to prepare students for an unpredictable job market, but rather to help staff and students make a difference in their world today and build a better future together. So I think that's an accurate portrayal of what we're trying to do and why we're so proud of all of our principals and the work across the board and our vice principals. So I wanted to share that good news as well, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. It's the bewitching hour. Can I have a mover to adjourn the meeting, please? Trustee Phelan, seconded by Trustee Melito. That the regular board meeting of March 28, 2023 be adjourned at 8:16 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Cindy.